Amen, church. When Pastor Schultz called me about this, like he said, I was at first paused. I was like, yeah, okay. We started talking about March Madness, and I was like, oh, I got this one. I got this one in the bag. Okay. So I'm gonna take some time with this to walk you through why March Madness is so electric, why it is an environment like any other. This is going to be, I didn't see my finger. I said March, okay, there we go. I didn't hear you though. When I said March Madness, all right, there we go. I hear you in the back there, all right? All right now. Let me, give me a second, I'll pull up my notes here. Pastor did say I could do this without notes. He kind of threw me under the bus there, but you know, we will figure this out in a second here. March Madness. What's, there we go, there we are. Y'all in the house, I hear you. March Madness. All right. March Madness is an environment like no other environment in sports. To most people, it's just a simple thing of a bunch of sweaty people running up and down the court, throwing a ball in the hoop. That's how most of us remember it, right? That's all we see people, and I'm just tired thinking about people running back and forth, you know. And to most people, that's what it is. Whoever at the end of the game has put the ball in the hoop the most wins the game, right? That's how we know it, right? So I want to throw it out there. March Madness, yeah, there we go, is the biggest, most exciting and fun event in all of sports, and that's not an exaggeration by any means. There's nothing in sports quite like it. So you may be wondering, what exactly is March Madness? Like we said, March Madness is a basketball game. To the common bystander, it's just basketball. So then why is March Madness so special? I love it. Is it really special enough to have around-the-clock coverage? I love it because, like, everybody has a sports network all of a sudden. NBC Sports, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, ESPN, and all 15 of their channels. Everybody's airing these games. Like, is it that special that all of these networks around the clock are airing this? Or is it special enough to overcrowd sports bars and restaurants? People packed in, wall to wall. Or is it even special enough that you have neighbors in your neighborhood, right, that you really don't deal with, you know, you really don't, quote unquote, like, let's be honest, you know. But during March Madness, you be willing to go to their house because they have the largest TV and their wife make the best snacks, right? So is it that special that, you know, we would be willing to be around people that we don't even like? That's something to ask yourself, right? Come on, Pastor, you heard it somewhere now, right? You'll even see people, spend thousands of dollars on plane tickets, hotels. You'll see them buying all this fan gear, all of these things in the hopes that their team would make it to the Final Four in an opportunity to play for a championship, to be crowned champions, right? So what's the hype all about? Let's take a look. Man, you can roll that clip.
This situation. Jesperson, half-court heave for the win. Jesperson does it. Northern Iowa wins it at the buzzer. 75-72. With Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship. Jenkins hitting the winner. He rifles it right in front of us to Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win. The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Up to the Sweet 16. Katie's got it. Rises up. The shot. And it's good! It's good! Wisconsin has won it! Chioza. Left and go into second overtime. If you
Another 4 seconds. Gasell, no chance. It's good! It is good! They'll review it, but it beats the clock.
One timeout, they don't take it. He got it! He got it! Butler. And the Ramblers are moving on!
To my UT fans, I apologize for the beginning. Not really, but, you know, it is what it is, you know. It happens. I know it hurt a little bit, but, you know. So the hype. March Madness is created around a hype like no other. It's a one-of-a-kind hype. As we've seen in the video, the excitement of winning the game as the time expires. And then you also saw the other side of it, the sheer defeat. When you've done everything that you could and you still lost. The hype. March Madness is special because it possesses a hype like no other. The environment. Obviously, you can't help but be consumed by it. The excitement of anybody being able to win a game. No matter what the circumstances is, when you lace them up and you start the game, your records, your previous records, who you beat during the season, what you did last season, nothing matters. You lose, you go home. One and done, right? As we saw in the clip, the environment that is produced by the hype of March Madness is electric. Oh, come on now, y'all gotta keep up. You can't help but be consumed by it. It's the one and only environment I know that causes people to stand on furniture, crowd rooms, and even camp outside of stadiums to gain access for prime seating, all to be in front and center to see if their team will be the one to victory. And just in case you're wondering, yeah, I've done all of those things. All right. I've always been fascinated by March Madness. But it wasn't until March of 2019 that I really understood how consuming the environment could really be. I remember sitting on my couch. I don't know if I was sitting. Where's my wife? I might have been standing up yelling. I don't remember. But I remember our Texas Tech Red Raiders went on a win streak, right? And they were winning, and they got to the Elite Eight game. So the Elite Eight game is just 8 teams left in the tournament. Whenever those games are over, those 4 teams that win go to the Final Four. We are on speakerphone with her sister and my brother watching this game, and we're like, man, they're going to do it. I'm like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? I think they might do it. I think it might happen for us. I don't know. I'm sitting here pacing back and forth. I'm scaring the dogs because I'm yelling all over the place and jumping up. And they running across the room like, what happened? It created such an excitement, the environment did. And I've always been fascinated by that. But as that buzzer sounded and our teams were victors, we immediately looked at each other with the phone conversation in the background on speakerphone. We gotta go, right? I mean, we got to. I mean, this may never happen again. Like, this may never happen again for us. And so, as we sat there, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look at the tickets. So I looked at the tickets. I was like, oh, that's not bad. They're like 100 something a piece, you know? So what y'all think? Y'all think y'all really wanna go? I don't know. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy the tickets. And if we decide we're not gonna go, fine. You know, we sell the tickets or whatever. So we buy the tickets. And then we're like, well, man, these plane tickets, whoo. Yeah, I don't know. Well, what about driving? And this was that year, it was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Quite a drive, right? And I laughed because my brother, he knows me well, and he said, I'm not driving with you. Because one, I know you're going to leave me to do all the driving because you're going to fall asleep or you're going to be sleepy. So nah, we not going to do that. So we found plane tickets on the cheapest airline we could find. No bags included at all. No bags included at all, right? So here I am, and I'm a bigger guy, so my clothes, obviously, they weigh a little bit more. They're a little bit bigger. I don't know why they do that, but that's just the way it is. You know, but I don't know. Y'all talk to somebody about it. I don't know. But anyway, so here I am trying to pack 2.5 days worth of stuff in a backpack. I'm using a Ziploc airbag to try to get my stuff down. I busted the seam on my backpack. It was bad. But we got there, and the experience. I've always thought it was such a dynamite experience. I've always been drawn to it. But being in the presence, actually being in the environment of March Madness, yeah, there you go, was nothing like it. The coolest thing I thought was like to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and to be walking around in the city, and everywhere you go, you see Red Raider fans, and everybody's like, Regum Tech, hey, I like you, yeah. And the funnest part was I met a guy on the plane, and he sat next to Toya and he was actually on my freshman dorm. Like, I had never seen the guy before, but we knew all the same people. And the experience was just dynamite. It was just crazy. It was electric. And as I was in that experience, my life was forever changed. Like, March Madness is one of my favorite times of the year. Like, especially now this year, because my team is actually a favorite to win, right? But even further than that, just being in the environment and being a part of it changed me. It changed how I felt about it. It was one thing to hear the hype, but it was something else to actually be in the experience yourself, right? To be in the experience, the environment, you can't help but be consumed by it. It just draws you in. Now, I believe the most exciting feature that March Madness has to offer is to those teams that have never been there before. Like you saw on the first screen, I'm still going to be on you UT fans for a little bit. But in the first screen, Northern Iowa, I think, was ranked 16th, and I think UT was like number 4 or 6 or something like that maybe, right? So the thing about a team that's never been there is they're hungry. They're hungry, right? The hunger that's created by the experience. They get to be hungry. They're dangerous at that point because they're willing to do anything to win. They'll go for every loose ball. They'll rebound. They'll go for steals. They'll risk it all because the experience of being a part of March Madness, there you go, has forever changed them. You can see it in their eyes just after one win. Have you ever seen, if you watch it, and a team like that wins one game, and then it becomes, oh man, we could go all the way. We could win it all. And you start feeling yourself a little bit, you know? I can do this. We can do this. It's nothing like it. Just one experience in March Madness, and your life will forever be changed. Forever be changed. It's interesting to watch teams. And if you're an avid basketball, like some of the guys I know in here, avidly watch basketball, it's interesting to see how the gears change from the regular season to the time that you're in the tournament, right? There's a unity that exists in that moment, that is created in that moment, that didn't exist in the season. It's like nothing you've ever seen. This week from this Sunday, so next Sunday, is Selection Sunday. Selection Sunday is when a committee comes together and they will decide who will play in this tournament. There are currently 358 Division I basketball teams. Only 68 teams get selected to be in this tournament. So when you get there, you better be hungry. Church, we truly have something special. I love what Pastor Schultz said, and it's been heavy on my heart. Watching, and I still call them my babies, even though they teenagers. I loved watching my babies in the altar last Sunday. I can't shake it. I can't get over it. It changed me. I told Pastor Schultz after service, I called him. I said, man, outside of a camp experience, I've never seen them respond in that way. I said, normally it takes a camp experience. You hear me? It takes an experience for them being around people their age that believe what they believe, that walk like they walk, that causes them to respond in a certain way. But we know we have something special here because it happened in this house. It happened in this environment. It happened here. And it spilled over into First Wednesday. It spilled over into First Wednesday. And I wasn't able to attend, but I even heard that it spilled into the young adults' worship night. There's something special here. I liken March Madness, all right, a lot to the ministry of Jesus Christ. Now, if you wasn't catching through the whole service, I was setting this up the whole time. But I liken this to the ministry of Jesus Christ. If it's Mark 3 or Mark 5, whatever it may be, anywhere that you read that people encounter Jesus, there was always a crowd. There was such a hype around what Jesus was doing. There was such a hype. People came from all over to see what this Jesus was about, to see what people said about him was true, to be a part of the experience. Jesus. And what was crazy about it is it truly was one of a kind. All throughout the Gospels we hear about this. Whether it be when he withdrew from the sea, whether it be when he encountered Jairus, whether it be with the woman with the issue of the blood, whether it was Nicodemus, didn't matter who it was, didn't matter what they were going through, didn't matter the situations of their life, the circumstances of their life, the pains, the hurts, the letdowns, it drew a crowd. It drew an incredible crowd. Now, the interesting thing we have to know about a hype is that when there's a hype around something, it normally produces an emotional response, right? It causes you to respond emotionally. And in that can be waived by seasons, by troubles, by circumstances. If your team is losing in March Madness, the hype may not be as big for you, right? You might want to turn the TV off and not watch it because you're upset with how your team performed. They didn't show up that day, and so you like, I'm just going to turn it off, and, next year we'll be all right, right? That's the way we approach it, right? Now, the interesting thing about the hype around Jesus is that he used that hype to facilitate heart transformation. It wasn't just a hype with him. It didn't just produce an emotional response. It did those things. But more than that, it changed people's hearts. It couldn't help it. You got in his presence, you were changed. You were healed. You were restored. You were reconciled. It did things to you that you never thought possible. Whether you were broken, destitute, hopeless, Jesus had the ability to heal, to make whole, to repair, to reconcile. The hype around Jesus is real. And if you've been awake these last couple weeks, even longer than that, we've been in revival. But if you've been awake, particularly these last couple weeks, you can't help but wonder, what is with this experience that we have in our church now? It's a beautiful thing. My hope with my babies is they realize the hype is real. I've watched them have this experience in the altar. And my prayer is that it is creating a hunger in them to want more. I love the fact that we're incorporating our kids into this service. I want them to be hungry. I want them to have these experiences. And I want them ultimately to know for themselves. Not because mama said, not because daddy said, not because grandma taught them this way, not because the church said this, but because they had a genuine experience with God that forever changed their life. It's happening in this house. And that's something to be celebrated. Celebrate our babies. Celebrate them, encourage them. I love the fact that our pastor was in the altar embracing our young people. There are a lot of pastors that won't do that. A lot of pastors that won't do that. This is a season where God is calling us to show up. There's a Tasha Cobbs Leonard song that I got off of Juliana's Spotify playlist. I know I put you on blast. I still love you though. And the song says, pour it out. Pour it out. I've been shuffling through songs on their playlist, on my playlist, because I'm trying to get them more involved in service. Like, what do you listen to? What do you like? What moves you? We need to know those things. Can't be scared of those things. May not be what we hip to, but it's important for drawing them in. In the song, she says, if it's defeat that's keeping you from trusting, pour it out. If it's pride that's keeping you from breaking, just pour it out. I'm going to add, if it's fear, if it's defeat, if it's lack of trust, and the big one, if it's church hurt that's keeping you from pouring it out. If you didn't know, service announcement, church is full of broken people. They're going to let you down. They're going to upset you. But it's about the experience with Jesus Christ. It's about your personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I love my brother Lawrence back there. He blesses me every time I walk into his presence. He always has a word for me. And it kind of shifted on us because I think for a while, I would be the one that would bring the word. And now it's shifted now. Every time I see him, he's got a word for me. And I love it because he said something to me that I have never realized. We were talking about the story of Eli and Samuel, and he finally realizes what he should respond back. It says at that point that the Lord came and stood. The Lord came and stood. I've read that 1,000,000 times. I've taught lessons on it, and that never caught me like it did when he told me that. It was in that point that the hype became real. The Lord came and stood before, come on now. He had an experience with God that forever changed his life. I don't know what brought you here today. You may have been invited. You may have been a regular. You may have just stumbled in here. I don't know what brought you here today. But I want to tell you this. If it has never happened to you, if you have never had that experience, when these altars open up today, get down here and pour it all out. Pour it all out. Whatever has been keeping you from the experience, pour it out. If you have been in this house, or you've been in some house, and you haven't had this experience in a while, when this altar opens up, get down here and pour it all out. March Madness is special. Yeah, that's what y'all still in it. I like it. March Madness is special, and I'm closing here. March Madness is special. But there is nothing like the experience of Jesus Christ. There is nothing like the experience of Jesus Christ. There is a hype that exists with him, but in that hype, in that experience with him that you have, he will pour out his spirit upon you like he has never done before. You can't help but be changed. You have no choice in the situation. I used to tell the story to the kids all the time. People used to tell me all the time, "You're going to be a pastor." I said, "No, not me. Not me. I don't even like people like that. No, absolutely not." And I tell the kids this all the time. I ran from God so much, I ran right into him. I ran smack dab right into him. And I'm going to close with saying this. I was sitting in the prayer room this morning, and I struggled. Honestly, I'll be honest with you, I struggled with this message. I told Pastor Schultz, I'm not used to being up here talking about a sport for most of the time, you know. And as I sat in the prayer room and I'm praying, and tears began to stream down my eyes. And God says to me, don't you get what I'm doing? I'm showing you that you were a result of March Madness. I grew up around my grandmother who drugged me to church all my life. Literally. She was so devout. And I sat in the pews for so many years as a young kid and as a teenager. And I didn't get it. I was like, what's up with all of this? I don't want to give nobody my money. I like my money. What's with all of, this jumping and shouting? I don't get it. It wasn't until I had an experience for myself that I knew the hype was real. And as I sat there with tears streaming down my eyes, my favorite person walked in the room and touched my face. And she said, I've been praying for you, baby. That's my mother-in-law. And in that time and at that moment, I knew, you're right. When that happened for me, it forever changed my life. And it created a hunger in me that has never stopped. It created a hunger in me to be different. It created a hunger in me to go after what God told me to go after. It created a hunger in me for this next generation that by any means necessary, I will do whatever the Lord tells me to do to make sure that they know what I experienced with him. Church, we have something so special. So special. March Madness is great. And I hope that every one of you in here turns on your TV next week and roots for my Red Raiders. All right? I know, I got UT fans in the house. But more than anything, if you're in here today, I hope that you will take this next opportunity that's coming to experience the love of Jesus Christ.